Y'all have this in an electronic version?
Yeah,
Or
Yeah.
Can I?
I'll send it to you.
Thank you.
Oh, no, I can't now. Oh, wait, maybe I can. Can I still
I
send
got
it
the
to you?
fancy pen and everything. I'll use it.
I haven't turned that back. Oh, I see. Here, what, Nick? Put that down. Okay.
Alright, there you go.
What do I?
Yep.
Okay, and this is the one I control.
Yep.
And I'm gonna turn this around.
Yep.
We don't know if people are watching it.
No,
Nobody's watching it. Would it show us if there was
I'm not sure.
one watching now?
Yeah, so it'll tell you, if you look down, it'll tell you.
Oh,
Like, what are they writing?
okay.
Alright, just turn that around.
That's it.
Brad, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Brad, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
We're ready to go.
Well, we don't want that.
Oh, Brad, yes, this is the only master I have.
Where's your Seminole one?
One dark, so.
All right. Is it in the middle? Okay, I'm ready. I just wanted to make sure it was not.
Yeah, and so then when people are talking, you just aim it to whoever.
There's usually a significant lag.
That's what I
That
was
makes it
noting.
fun.
That's what I was,
It's a 30-second pause.
that's why I was wondering, like, why is that moving?
So I was briefly watching the video on YouTube. And I was like, why am I staring at them for that long?
You need to redo it on
Thank you.
Novavax says that their vaccine doesn't work on the South Africa area.
It's not as effective, yeah. They'll come up with a booster.
How long is this been? Only 60 on spring break.
Yeah.
So I'm not old enough to qualify.
Nope. The same boat with those youngins.
No. Let me tell you. Exactly. I go home. And now that I'm back in the school, I'm taking a shower as soon as I walk in because those second graders.
Because we didn't agree.
I think a student got what they retweeted me, and I just said, go.
And my teachers actually, I know we're gonna talk about it.
Those little second graders are like.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I had kids, I'd be wearing scrubs.
I wear scrubs in the classroom.
I did in the fall. When I was in my fall, I wore scrubs.
I've been thinking about it.
Also, scrubs are just the most comfortable thing ever.
I've really been thinking about it.
With me, when I got to my car, because I won't close under the store.
Yeah.
I would take the scrubs off and throw them in the trunk.
Yeah.
That way I didn't take anything into my car, with me,
Yeah.
including my shoes.
Although we probably
Also,
should.
scrubs have the most convenient pockets.
They do.
Like whoever designed them, a nurse or something, they have like dry erase pockets for days.
I had to wear scrubs when otherwise I used to go up to the dental stores and read babies.
Yep.
And I had to wear scrubs. I worked at school. And it was, pockets and nice.
So we need to get through.
Where the pen goes with it or.
That's fine.
Oh, I have.
spending hours and there's a lot of people have to go to. And we use it without the sign fee.
I have the one that she sent out.
Live streaming. Well, I'm gonna be working for this. Because I don't like this. Oh.
As horrible as this. I don't know.
All right, I'll be right back.
Oh, yeah. And 100 at home, probably, that's very high.
Yeah.
Hey. That's good. It was so good.
That's why I don't want
Come on over, love.
I'm good, how are you?
that. I just tweaked my phone.
Was running that for us right up the list.
I forgot my notebook here, or I would have had it.
Thank you, Joanna.
Yeah, I'm still. Nobody, I asked down there, and I don't think,
This is, or is this the one then?
yeah, I think we're gonna work with this. Because that's what everybody worked on.
Okay.
It's much more fun.
Okay.
And,
I actually like both.
yeah, I think you know, the fact that we have both is good. We were back. It was inconsistency. But we discussed this.
Oh.
That's my problem. Yeah, that's my problem. Well, okay, so the director that was doing and she decided to go on.
Sorry, Brad, making you seasick.
You remember when we discussed the three of us? You were for psychology and I was better.
But I was like, so the teacher had started the year. So I didn't take it over, back to what you so I don't know. Right.
So whatever.
More than the school. I mean, I'm not an instructor, but I would be training.
And the email is blue.
This week.
Okay. Why did it take so long?
Try to get the document on that computer.
Bill. You want this one? Why don't the doctors?
as long as we have both of them. It doesn't matter if it's too hard to switch it now. But you know what? I'm really.
Mhm.
Yes, please. I have no idea who else.
Okay, so we do have both copies. We have the copy that we worked on, Joanne's color-coded copy, and we have the copy that you sent earlier today. The problem is my whole team worked on this one. And even though they are the same and now they have them back to back, I think they're just a little more comfortable with working with the document where they made all their notes. We worked for
Yeah, I don't have
hours,
annotations, but that's fine.
Monday evening, was it Monday?
Yeah, annotation.
We worked quite late. You know, I want them
That
to-
works
So
perfect.
do we,
So,
yeah, I know,
yeah, it has
it's
the
a little clunky, and I think it's been clunky for the last couple of times because we had a version that we sent and we were using, and then we met. And then I think the version that you did it, we actually had incorporated some of your suggestions, and then it reverted back to the original, and so it didn't capture the suggestions you had. So that's
So
where
we-
we were.
Yes.
Yeah, well, the color-coded one has everything in it. It just is coded for the ones that you said, fine, it's our suggestions that you accepted. Then there would be ones that you suggested were in a different color, and the gray ones were things that we suggested that you did not agree with.
Actually, that's not completely accurate. We sent a copy after we met in Zoom. We had originally sent over an agreement on 12/14.
Ah.
And you sent over changes on January 6th. We then met and we incorporated many of those changes and sent them over to you on the 15th. What we got back were changes made to the original document and did not incorporate the language that we worked on for hours to compress. So we're working from different documents, but we have already incorporated many of the things that we discussed at our first meeting when we returned to school. And it's not included in what you had in the color coded, which is an earlier version. So if we could maybe talk about the big concepts, because we sent over 4 bullets to you on Friday. And if we can get over them, then I think we can work out which document we're dealing with. But we had incorporated many of the changes that we discussed. And that was kind of ignored in the color coded document that was sent back.
Wow, that really is. But they just sent one this morning? Is
Yes.
that what you're saying?
Yeah, this was just said, that if had this been sent sooner, I mean, Joanne did go through line by line. Did you see some big differences in the 2 documents, Joanne?
There's some, but not huge. Well, then why don't we work through the red line document that we sent today, because that shows the changes that we tried to incorporate the whole, we spoke last Friday, and we took back your comments, and we all had spoken on, I believe, last, Wednesday, when we started that, so we think most of those changes are there. If we can conceptually get around the social distancing issue, then we can work on the language. We put those 4 bullets forward, Friday afternoon. We didn't hear any response, but we think that we captured some of those concepts in the red line document that we sent you this morning on page 7.
Is there a way to get a copy of that for us?
I thought that you did have the red line copy.
Now, we have the red line copies. I think, are you talking about the 4 bullet points?
No. The
I
red
have
line
the
copy.
bullet points, but I don't have whatever document they sent to you today.
Yeah, I didn't send that to
On
anybody.
our copy, we have the red line.
We don't.
You just hold on.
Just getting them.
All right.
I can.
You have a copy that we can make
Hold
additional
on.
copies?
You guys all have your electronic devices? so, Michael, you want one? Somewhere's empty, there you are.
I have
Lee,
an extra copy.
Wait,
I would prefer a paper copy.
then you can go get it off the printer.
Okay.
Here, I have one.
Lori's got one. Okay, so I'm only sending electronic. Kristen, do you need electronic copies?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Kristen, you're not popping up.
Send something to the copier.
did you send it to the copier?
Can't see it.
Joanne, is
Ms.
that good?
McCall, did you send that to the copier?
I didn't write yet, but I will. Kristen, tell me your,
See, well, my email's KRISTEN.
okay, there you go. Never mind, I got you.
Okay.
All right, very good.
Joanne, is that what you gave me a copy of, or is it different?
You've got it in hard copy.
How many copies do we need? All, how many, you need one, how many others do we need?
Will you go ahead and
I
make
don't
me
know,
one?
I've got
because-
one now, so.
Will you make me one, because I'm having some issues. Do 3.
3?
You ought to be glad. I'm just so technology with it. That's
Very, very
dripping
glad.
with sarcasm. I'm not. No, we broadcast my email for today, so. I will. All right, you do yours. Okay.
Please tell me what I'm pulling up.
I'm not comfortable working with a document that I have not read through completely. I would prefer to work through the document that we did all of that work on. And then if we are missing something, you can certainly point it out. I have both.
Update to this one, or is that the one you're talking about? I know you've done a lot of work, but do you have enough?
This is the one, no, we didn't put it, we took notes on this document. That is why this one is the one everyone's familiar with. Because this is what we worked on Monday night. We did not alter it.
Probably need to vote on it.
Yeah.
So
That's what I'm doing, both.
I have both now.
So how about this? So Nancy, you have both.
Yes,
Everybody should have both at this point.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yes.
Dr. Corbett, do you have both?
Yep.
Okay, so I'm gonna project the district red line one. So that I can capture whatever you say, so that we're all working from that document. But everybody will work from both documents to ensure that whatever I capture is accurate. All
okay.
I'm gonna say is be kind to the scribe. That's all. Kind to the scribe.
That's right. We got it.
Is that fair enough solution?
Absolutely.
All right, and that would be this one. All these pesky little people.
Need a lazy Susan. Just to, yeah.
So this is a room. We'll see what is projected is the one that Lori sent me this afternoon. Yeah. And then from what I see on this one, this whereas Lori added an and, right?
Right, because it goes.
Oh,
No,
I didn't, that is just a, that thing
That's-
shows up because I made a comment.
This and here?
yes, that was what was pulled out.
Yeah, the comment is there because,
I can't see the people directly. Yeah, I get rid of the phone. Sorry, okay.
Right, and that's
Okay.
why,
So this one right here, this
Yeah.
is, she did capture this and they did capture our change.
what,
So the whereas it says the emergency order, where it says be offered the opportunity to.
yes,
That was our change that they accepted.
yes.
that's correct.
Yep.
Got it. So we'll get on that, right?
Yes.
And then here she took out the, if you look at ours, that's where, the social distancing will be paramount and continued. Social distancing was in their original. The paramount piece was what we added. And, they took everything away from that because later in Lori's document, or not Lori's document, the district document, you will see they have a social distancing section.
That's correct.
So can we agree
Which
that
is,
it's way back, it's like,
Page
On
7,
page 7,
page 7.
Page numbers.
yes.
right, I still think it belongs in the beginning of the document.
Okay, so we disagree because the whereas clause basically just acknowledges that students are returning.
Which, in
We're not going to describe what's paramount and what isn't paramount, the whereas.
so we can take out paramount and then still just say social distancing will be continued.
That's fine.
Yeah, that's
There
okay.
you go.
That sounds all right.
okay, so what do we do? Sorry.
Just removing paramount. Social distancing will be continued.
So we'll leave the, okay, Lori, now, is there a trick that I do for editing? I go to
If you go to review,
review,
are we just
That's
putting,
another
we're not
reason.
redlining, it, right? We're just, I want to redline this or just, type it in. If you want to redline it, you go to review.
oh, but if I just type it in, we're okay.
Yep.
We can just add in social distancing.
Backspace and delete that and. And get rid of the semicolon and then just say, and social distancing will be continued.
It won't let me,
Try again.
it won't let me edit the document. So, that's what I want to see if there's an able.
You know, if you want, what we can do is make these notes where you want to finish
Yeah.
tonight. Either way.
Sounds better.
Okay.
Please take those.
That's all right.
Do both.
Okay.
Yeah, because I can get it. And I wonder if it's what I want to do.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, because you're just displaying it. You're not actually working with it. It doesn't have, like, you need to have it in to edit it, you need to be out of Zoom.
Yeah.
So you'll have to just make notes.
Yeah. We'll just do those.
I'll just write it on. I don't know. Because it's not gonna.
Yeah. I'll just display it.
Okay.
But to go back. Nick, can you forward that, the new document to Brad?
Yeah.
Anyone else need a copy?
Well, I think we're okay.
We'll move back that whereas.
Yes.
All right, so the next whereas looks okay.
So we accept your suggestion.
To the extent possible is out and accommodate is just changed to 4.
Yeah.
That's on page 2 under safety precaution, basically your suggestion to take up to the extent possible.
agreement to.
Taylor. Well, I can't remember what our notes were, because I don't have them with me.
We're on
Number one,
page
we on 1A
2,
now?
number
Oh,
1.
I hope so.
Okay, we're on 1A and we accepted that, you had, that we would, if protocols are not being followed, the administration will be notified in writing and have 48 hours to correct, we just changed that to address.
Okay, that's my issue. There's got to be some term.
Yes, we did.
In between correct and address.
Yeah.
Address just means, oh, okay, yeah, it's there. Correct means to, do something about it. There's got to be some word
No.
that fits somewhere in between.
What we came up with was 48 hours to initiate a plan for correction. So that the correction does not have to happen within 48 hours, but a plan for correction should be initiated within 48 hours. That is what we changed it to.
I'm good with that.
Okay, to initiate a plan for correction.
Okay, all right.
So what did you come up with?
To initiate, it'll be, take off address, to initiate a plan for correction. 1A, at the end of 1A.
I know we discussed it, but I don't remember.
Okay, tell me one more time.
Right. Also, we had asked, in 1 itself, we had asked for reasonable to be removed, along with to the greatest extent possible. Because the safety, I think we're on the same page with the safety measures. I don't think anything that we've discussed and are on the same page are unreasonable. So I think reasonable, I don't see the point of that being there.
So we do.
What is it?
Well, I mean, a safety precaution could be there's one person in every single building only.
We haven't asked for that, and we haven't even, I mean, that's ridiculous.
We really don't think that keeping something reasonable is unreasonable. So.
I think our concern is the ambiguity of that.
Yeah.
My idea reasonable and your idea reasonable could be very different.
Well, that's why we
And
have.
very open to interpretation.
That's
Right.
why we need it in there.
Right.
If we don't have the word reasonable, then you could say it's a safety precaution to have one person in the building, and we have nothing to fall back on, we say that's not reasonable.
You know, arbitrators and courts deal with what's reasonable all the time, and it depends on the circumstances. Putting it in there, we think is necessary because an extreme request for precaution is not something we can do. And I think we can all determine what is and is not reasonable.
Right.
So it doesn't harm you to put that in there.
I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. I do know that it has caused a lot of problem in constitutional law, having that word in so much of the Constitution. But because there is no decision, there is no agreement as to whose idea of reasonableness is correct. What I'm saying is any ambiguities in this document leave it open to interpretation, not by the people sitting at this table who fully understand what we've been discussing, but by the people implementing the safety precautions in the buildings. That's where the problems arise, is the ambiguities that they then sometimes, some administrators use to enforce something that we never had in mind over here, you never had in mind over there. That's why ambiguities don't work well in a contract.
Nancy, I could suggest that taking the word reasonable out suggests that all safety precautions need to be implemented. And that's ambiguous because we would argue over what all safety precautions are. So I don't know that we should
take out all.
down on this because we've got the big concepts that we need to come to an agreement
Take out all.
on. If we can't come
Take
to
out
an
all.
agreement on one,
Take out all reasonable.
All reasonable, yeah. Just leave that, take out all
Just a minute,
reasonable.
look, he's
Take
talking.
out
That's
all
what he's saying.
reasonable and replace it with not following. So it's only the ones that we listed.
that's fine.
Why not just take out all reasonable and have it read the parties agree to work toward implementing safety precautions including.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Because you haven't defined it yet. at least if we say the following, we say, okay, it's these 6 things.
We've already said that.
They're
we
not
were
defined in
including-
the original, in the way it's written here either.
I think we need to agree to disagree and move on, and we'll never get through this document.
Okay. Well, let's just table that one, number 1.
Okay, so where were we at, B?
We just corrected A.
And B was all fine.
Mhm.
Well, B, we took out and maintained.
Yep, that was what you requested.
It's in your.
But you
stuff.
still have it in here.
Oh. Green accepted PCTA
Yeah.
language.
Yeah, so that should be
That's
out.
what, oh,
Yeah,
Strike.
forgot to take it out, that's all.
So and maintain comes out?
Strike, yeah.
Yes.
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 Take the whole thing out after and maintain?
Just and
Just
maintain.
and
Where's the
maintain.
word maintain?
Available for use by.
Instructional staff, yes.
Employees.
Rest is fine.
And B, they accepted our language on that.
Right. Parents will be limited to official business but may not visit classrooms for prolonged periods of time is fine.
Thank you.
Then the
Great.
Yeah, and then you had it right, you would put in about, because we wanted the volunteering and mentoring to be totally virtual, you said that generally be conducted virtually, but to the extent they're conducted in person, because of unique circumstances, social distancing will be observed.
that's what they are.
Right, that was what was added by the district, and I believe when we had the discussion Monday, we accepted that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep, you did.
Yeah, you have those notes, I don't have those.
yeah, I still think the wording is very squishy, but it's a matter of style.
E is fine. E is
E is fine, and there's no changes on E.
F.
E was about the, we did have a question to ask.
We had a question that wasn't a bargaining question, just a tech question.
Just, yeah, we were just asking questions, not arguing. About, is there any way to do the self-screening tool in concert with Outboard?
No,
we have already.
we tried, really.
Dang, man.
Last summer.
Yeah, 'cause-
I know.
yeah, that was just a general question that was coming up that people were saying, why can't
Question
we
we
just
talked about at,
be able to answer it when they're checking in?
Okay, we were just curious.
All right.
It made a lot of sense. though, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except for our auditors.
Of course.
The problem is we couldn't get the same type of report, identity.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Because we were thinking just like a clause at the top.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so when you checked in, it like covered everything.
It's the reporting function we need so that it goes in the FTE box as part of our audit trail.
Huh.
True.
Okay.
Okay.
F.
So F, we accepted some of your requests, but not all.
Right. And what I noticed is that you had, right, you didn't want surgical grade
For the,
instead of cloth. And yet, at the school board meeting, you talked about surgical grade masks.
Here's what we're.
So that's where I got confused.
Let's connect F and then later on we'll talk about the kids with masks. So we're not talking about replacing all the kids and giving all the kids surgical masks.
no.
But we have surgical masks. We have 275,000 surgical masks in the warehouse. And so when we said disposable replacement masks will be available, any teacher wants a disposable, wants the blue ones,
With the pinch?
ask for them. And we have like, I think we have way more than anybody's gonna ask for. We got 5,200 boxes of 50.
Okay.
And so we think for teachers who that will make them feel more comfortable, ask, we'll send them some. And if we need to buy more, we will, but again, I don't think we'll have that much demand.
So the other issue, we're going with the little kitty sizes. for people with small heads.
Yeah, did you find any
Right,
of those?
and that was not accepted by you, but we are I mean, I really think you need to have more kid sizes. I think that's something that,
Kid-sized cloth masks.
kid size cloth.
And so what we've got to do is we've got to come up with a way that, you know, I don't want to be providing surgical masks to 80,000 kids. So what we talked about is the process later on when we get to it, is for students, when students aren't wearing their masks correctly, we want to follow the process we've had, but we want to add an additional way. What do we do when a kid is drooping off his nose and they can't fix it, whatever, if you can't fix it in school, the teacher tells the faculty rep tells the area superintendent, and the area superintendent gets involved and resolves the issue. We couldn't leave it where the teacher was sending the kid out and then reassigning them because that's an administrative function, so we talked to the area superintendent,
No.
they know they gotta solve the
But that
problem.
doesn't have anything to do with the size of the
So-
mask.
These are a little, I think these are two different things,
Yeah.
Dr. Corbett. So
That's
this,
not right.
where
It's
we
the same
talk,
safety issue though. If the reason the child's not wearing a mask correctly is because they don't have the right size mask, then the solution is to get the right size mask.
well,
But we're talking about the little kids, right?
this is
Yeah, that's what we're
elementary school, so Johnny gets out of the car circle, comes in, he's not wearing a mask. If we don't have extra cloth masks for the kids, they're giving them disposable surgical masks, but they are adult size. They're not fitting them appropriately. Because this piece is made for an adult and a child's face is much smaller.
And it just slides right off.
So, yeah, it slides right off. You're sitting here trying to twist it, put everything on there. And I actually have kid-sized masks that when my kids either break a mask or, I don't know if you've seen, first graders can chew through their masks.
Oh,
So to have extra masks on hand, rather than having teachers have to buy kid-sized masks.
When you say kid-size mask, are you saying kid-size surgical mask?
Just-
Yeah, the blue
It's
ones.
kid
right?
He's just asking what you're
Ask the
talking
question.
about.
Yeah, right,
Just
the blue
something that
ones,
fits
that's
that
the-
prevents COVID.
It's the surgical mask like she's wearing, but it's made for a kid. It's a smaller size.
Yeah, they have them.
Because being a category 1 teacher who's just now going back into the classroom, I'm in with second graders. And when the second graders come in with these adult size surgical masks on, they might as well not be wearing a mask at all because there's nothing conforming to their face.
You have these huge gaps.
We understand.
And so so it doesn't do me any good to send them to the office to get another one because it's the same thing.
Well, there's a delay, but up there it's right.
All right, we'll have to take that back and see how quickly we can secure the, I don't know what the wait time.
Like, how many of the kid-sized cloth masks do you have?
Do we have extras?
We've got like a million, we got more cloth masks in the warehouse.
So is this an
I
issue
know.
where the schools don't have them, or like,
Well, they're just giving
Yeah,
the,
that's why to me,
Okay.
That's where it goes into
I
the
think we go ahead
request.
and purchase some disposable ones, but I really think the way to get through the MOU and fix it
Yeah.
is to say, when there's a problem at a school.
Yeah.
And the school doesn't resolve it, the faculty rep gets involved, gets the area
Still a
superintendent.
delay.
we
It's got
resolve
a
the
good
problem.
30 second
I love
delay.
Because I don't think we're having a problem at all, I mean, in schools.
Yeah.
I think
But that's just if the kid's wearing it
second grader
incorrectly. So we'll have to look at
If
that.
the wearing it correctly,
Yeah, all right.
they're not able to wear it correctly.
Okay, we'll talk, we'll get there, we're getting there, yeah.
I know you said we have a lot, and by the way, it's good being here in person, although it's scary, I have to tell y'all that. I know you said in the warehouse, there's a lot of the, I call them the tidy whities, the cloth masks that have been ordered, and those are available to give out to the kids, but they oftentimes fall down. If a school were to request for, there's a strip, a metal strip with an adhesive peel off. You can get them, they're called mask nose strips. They're ridiculously cheap, several hundred for like $10 or less. If a school were to request some of those so they can hand them to kids to say, please adhere this to the inside of your mask so it can fit, would we be able to get that? Like, is that considered part of the appropriate equipment?
Right, you may not need a whole load of new masks, just these little metal attachments that will hook it to the kid's nose so it might stay up better. It might be a quick fix that they can go to the office get done and come right back to the class, instead of going through a whole process.
I can email a link to one of y'all. I found them on Amazon. They're ridiculously cheap. And I'm sure if you can find them on Amazon, they can be found other places.
Yeah, I'm sure if you, that's what we're talking about, is it's a simple fix to make use of the masks that you already have, since you have so many of them in the warehouse. Instead of buying all different or new masks, this might be an easy, cheap fix that an administrator can just do. Send the child to the office, he gets his mask fixed, he comes back, end of problem.
Be done in the Zoom part. Will you put it on full screen? Is that on this one?
So what are we doing about that?
Because I think initially-
Makes sense. Question is whether we want to put something here or where we talk about kids wearing masks appropriately or inappropriately in the process. That can be another thing.
That's what I would.
Yeah, that might be.
That's,
Right,
that'd be a different section.
But in terms of the
Right here.
idea, it makes sense.
Yeah, just here is what we're talking about. The masks need to be appropriately sized. How we do it, whether we do it this way, which I think is a easy fix, or
Here's one right here.
or purchasing more masks, I think this is, it doesn't matter. They need to be appropriately sized. The kid shouldn't be made to be punished because his face is tiny. It's not his fault. So we need to have a fix for it, and I think this one's a good one. So appropriately sized masks, though, we should expect to have, so that the children don't suffer. They don't have to go through a whole rigmarole of having someone decide whether they're disobedient or
It's gonna
not.
be a delay, so I can't.
You want to put that right in
I
there?
think it makes more sense in the end, but, I think it makes more sense when a problem comes up and somebody reports the problem, that's part of the solution, it's one of the solutions. I mean,
Let's just note that, and then we'll go on to where the students and their masks are, and then we can tackle that issue, okay? But I think we're in agreement that kids' masks should fit.
Should fit. That's, yeah, basically, that's the only reason we didn't put that in there.
So we're not putting it here though.
Correct.
We
Not
might
yet, not-
revisit it.
not yet.
Figure out how to.
Figure out how to put it.
Final document would make sense.
It's on home.
Okay, so G was fine.
Okay, so H, you have, students must be seated at least 4 feet apart. We
That's
did
where
not
we're-
accept that because we're addressing social distancing in a different section.
Okay, so that needs to wait to see what we decide on.
Correct, sure.
Okay, so that just needs to wait to see.
Well, we have it in a different section and you don't agree to how that's worded, but we're gonna address social distancing, not here under H. We're gonna address it as a separate topic, because that's the big one.
H, we're still addressing the teacher barrier.
Right.
The teacher barrier, but we're not addressing the students.
Exactly.
Right, that was the only reason why we thought it would be thrown in there as well as in the
Okay.
other place, simply because we're talking about the
Moving to
distances.
I, we accepted.
Can I ask
Be
a
a black
question
screen
here?
now.
I'm sorry, I just,
Sure.
I've gotten 2 more schools where principals are asking their teachers, telling them they must come out from behind the barrier. Now,
Tell them no.
I get it. You make it seem very easy, Bill. It's not that easy for the teacher to say no to their administrator.
Tell the teacher, tell the faculty rep, and have the faculty rep call any of us, and we'll call the principal. I mean, what do we write to address that?
Right.
Where are we?
Yeah.
I know,
Right,
I
and
know.
I
was-
get that, but I guess we're on that, Dr. Corbett, and, I struggle with this. So we've been doing that. We have contacted Paula, we have told her, then Paula goes back to the principal, and the principal says, I didn't say that. And so then it becomes, it's like the teacher made it up. So,
And we don't know we don't know who heard it, right, or who said, we don't
I really
know.
think it's communication, because teaching and learning is still recommending that you do small group instruction. That sometimes gets interpreted, and that you circulate, but you circulate very quickly at times. But if you don't want to, you don't have to, and we made arrangements in the evaluation, so it doesn't impact your evaluation. And I think teachers just are stressed, and they hear what they hear, and they think, oh, the principal said I have to go do this, when the principal is saying, well, best practices are to go do it. I don't know how to write the document any clearer than to write, you got 8 feet, you got the right to stay behind it if you want to.
Yep.
And if it becomes a problem at a school, we will talk to the principal, and if the principal says they didn't do it, okay. The teacher says, the principal said it, the principal says, I didn't, so what are we gonna do? It's, the bottom line, is we're not gonna hold anything against the teacher for doing what's in the MOU.
And Nancy, you know, we tried to incorporate your comments that we want to basically take the principal out so the teacher doesn't have to go to the principal. And so in the remedy section, we have the area superintendent being notified by the faculty rep. And I'm sure Dr. Hines, who just became an area superintendent, is thrilled.
Congratulations.
Landon, what would put a teacher on notice of possible exposure is this questionnaire. They would contact and there would be a questioning about the proximity. That would put them on notice of possible exposure. What we don't want to do is alert an entire classroom and cause hysteria of possible exposure.
Right, but that's when I talked to the teacher, the initial teacher from Belcher, who was texting me about this very issue, among a lot of others, and now parents are writing me as well, which I find unfair. That should be going to you. But it's 3, 4, 5 days later when the questions are asked. That's still too long.
Right.
And
Still
believe
too
me,
long.
you're gonna create
So
hysteria.
that isn't gonna work.
If
I
don't
thought it
know.
was gonna work when we talked about it, because it sounded very plausible that that would be a great way to do it. But they are keeping tabs on how long it's taking before those questions are asked of them. And when they know that the kid, the parent, because the parent already told them, so they knew the kid was positive. It took, but there are people doing it now because they are compassionate, and it's making a difference in the schools. They're just doing that. Because I'm just saying they made a decision on their own because they felt that it would ease tensions. And it has, is what I'm saying. It's working. Why not have everyone do it?
And they shouldn't. And the people who are doing it, who are allowed to, really shouldn't be doing it. If they're doing it, I'm not gonna.
It's that.
We have to follow.
Can you
the
see
rules.
it?
We're working with the Department of Health, but we're now doing the elementary ourselves. And they've agreed to that, so we should be much faster with elementary because we're doing it ourselves. We're expanding our COVID team, and we're taking care of it ourselves. If that goes well, we may be able to take over secondary. We don't know. We don't know if we have the capacity to do it. We have a copy required to hire another 6 nurses, but we're doing the best we can, the best, it's like we told you today, we met with the team.
No, we totally get what the slowdown is. We understand that none of that is.
There's no way for us to do what you're asking, and we can say that as soon as a positive case is reported, that somehow we tell the teacher, every teacher of the kids we got, we're not gonna commit to that. So, we might as well just start this one and move on, because I can tell you, we're not going to.
I don't understand.
Well,
Because
this,
we can't.
yeah, I really don't, this is one of mine that I'm not budging on either.
Okay, we're good.
Let's go, let's move on. So we're on L.
Oh,
So they accepted wear the mask incorrectly. They didn't accept or refused to do so.
So why don't we read through L as it's written now, and then the red line is the process that we put in. And then we can discuss what lingering concerns you might have.
Okay. So one of our things is we really want to change the word re-educated. Yes, it's got a very negative connotation. Reminded, anything else but re-educated.
Educated, but we can say reminded.
Redirect.
Or redirected.
Redirect is better.
That's
Yeah,
really.
that, we use that a lot. Redirecting them.
I thought of that, the education.
We commented on that earlier. It sounds like, communist.
yes,
It does, and that's,
Yeah.
that's exactly what Mike said. He
Like
said, it's just got such a
indoctrination or
negative
something.
connotation.
I think that works in the whole.
You go simple to the Buddha.
They came when I put that in. I guess for me, the hang up is the word consider.
well, because
I'm sorry, Joanne, I'm so sorry.
Where it says, if the refusal by the student continues, the principal will contact the area superintendent to consider placement into one of the other learning options.
The
Yeah,
only
the
thing
blue
about
text.
that for me is, we have a policy in the district about wearing masks. And the policy in the district is that we wear masks or a face shield for our ESE students who are technically defensive. And so, to me, if you have a policy or a rule in place and there's no consequence for not following it, then it's not a rule or a policy, it's just a suggestion. And I can either do it or not do it.
And let me tell you what I think the problem, and that's something I raised when we were debating this as well. So We have an order that says students have the ability to be in either school setting, remote or in school. We say in this, and we say in our policy that failure to, or an administrative placement to another learning model is not disciplinary. We say that. But if we are saying it's a rule, you violated a rule, and I am placing you in an alternative setting, that is discipline or could be considered discipline to an alternative setting, which could implicate the Administrative Procedures Act and have a hearing for the student. And that's why we say it's non-disciplinary. We cannot, in the same sentence, say if you don't obey and you break this rule, we are administratively transferring you to another setting, because that is opening up us to a lot of litigation. And so we thought we would just make it more friendly and as an option. Again, we put in this remedy, so if a teacher feels that it's not addressed appropriately, go to the area superintendent and take the principal out of it, because that seems to be a concern, and the faculty rep can go directly to the area superintendent, who will resolve the problem.
Then we really don't have a math policy.
We disagree with that.
Yeah, because then nobody has to follow it.
We have a rule that you can't fight at school. And one of the options the principal can consider when they're doling out discipline is an out-of-school suspension. But they don't have to do it. It's an option.
But
They
we're in a,
consider it. They
but we're
consider
in
a
a-
range of options. So right here, it's just,
I think that's apples and oranges. We're in a pandemic.
Right,
where
it's a different
life and death,
situation.
And
Yeah.
people can be spreading a disease
That could
that
kill
can
someone.
take someone's life. And I think that's different. I think that's very, very different. I don't think they're the same. And I really feel strongly that there has to be at least a small place that they go, knowing that there is a consequence for trying to harm people, because that's what it
I have a
is.
question.
Mhm.
Is alternate bell schedule considered a consequence or a discipline? I'm sorry, is alternate bell
Yes.
schedule considered a discipline?
Yes.
I'm just trying to think, I mean,
But because,
I feel strongly that an action does need to be taken, and that this is why we're all here, and we do have to uphold that mask. But you said our award earlier, solutions. So what would be a solution if you're saying if a movement to move the student would invoke, what did you say, Lori? The
Administrative.
Administrative act, what was that?
It would invoke the process to challenge
Okay.
the
So what,
placement as disciplinary.
So what would another solution? If moving to my PCS isn't gonna be it, if moving to, a virtual school isn't gonna be it, what are other solutions on the campus?
it's a better fitting mask.
That's
well,
not
that,
why they're not wearing it
We
though,
don't know.
right, that's
What we're
right.
saying here
That
is
would be step, maybe step one.
if
which
we're
is
saying
covered
if
on here.
It's not working at a school.
Right,
then
okay.
We need to notify the area superintendent, so the area superintendent is charged with implementing policy. Policy is a mess, so the area superintendent has to get in and determine what's going on and then fix it. I will tell you, the area superintendent, we're not thrilled at all with this solution that we put down on paper.
Come on, Dr. Hine.
They're not.
But that
And
was,
we hear what you're saying, but what we can't do is just say that we're gonna automatically give a consequence, a disciplinary consequence.
but this was initially your consequence
Yeah.
that you put in your original plan.
Yeah.
That's where we got
And
the
we were
wording
very
from.
careful not to call consequences, not discipline.
No, but wait, let me just, the wording of the original document, didn't we take it directly from the plan?
The learning plan.
Their learning plan, remember, you copied it
The first
directly,
MOU,
Paula.
The first MOU, I don't believe is considered. I did.
In the first MOU,
The first MOU came directly off of the.
out of the plan,
from
we took the mask policy
Yeah.
out of the plan, put it in
Still
there,
on there,
and
on
we
the
didn't
website?
change it this time.
No, not the original MOU, the actual
Yeah, that's it.
document that the parents look at as well.
What happens to a child who brings a weapon into the building and won't stop?
That is a zero tolerance state statute that
Oh, that's totally different.
Right.
That's an
Okay,
expulsion.
okay.
It gives them the right to a hearing.
And let me finish my point, okay? I know exactly what happens with a child, that's why I'm asking. The reason for that is the child can cause harm to the other people in his classroom. So can not wearing a mask. That is why the child needs to be removed from the classroom until he puts that mask back on properly. Then he is welcome right back in again. But he is, if you are causing harm to the other children in the classroom and the instructor, they should not be in the room with the other children.
Because at some point, because at some point it is a
I made
discipline
it go away,
issue.
make it come
At
back.
some point,
I made it go away, make it come back. Hit it. What did I do?
Yeah, you're saying
Down
it
here.
violates it's disciplinary and they automatically get kicked out of school.
it becomes, I personally feel like it becomes a disciplinary issue after you have
Yeah, it's right here.
corrected them
Where's the
and
comment?
it continues.
We have said it is not disciplinary.
It's okay.
Because we do not want to
No, because we're not back to the live stream now. I think I interrupted the live.
So the kid that I tell 14 times a day to put their mask back on, that continues to pull it off and twirl it around,
Right, that's,
that's a discipline issue.
right, that's defiance at that point.
What we said isn't that they will be placed in a virtual option, because that's one of the.
You said it would be considered.
That one of the considerations, and when we spoke, and it was prior to Dr. Hines coming on board, but we spoke with.
It was for the original MOU.
And they said this has not been a problem, and we don't want an automatic.
In the original plan. They know it is. They know
Disciplinary
it is.
reassignment for this kid.
Right,
You
somewhere
want-
I'm not
in
getting
our
this,
contract
Ginger.
with the teachers, you want to dictate a disciplinary consequence, and we're not inclined to do that.
Should be able to see the
Instead, what we suggested is a process
YouTube
to
vlog.
resolve it, and that is go to the area superintendent. Now, the area superintendent may very well determine, and there have been students that you're virtual, because
We're
you
still
continue to
live.
take your mask off. But we don't want it to be by contract with the teachers union and mandatory. There has to be some
Okay,
discretion
to
here
click it.
for the, administration.
Hey,
So
Ginger,
I just
where
have
did my
two
YouTube
questions.
picture go?
And
Where did
I
my
know I've
YouTube
heard
picture
the
I don't
the
know.
district
because
lawyer
they were-
right here,
discuss
live
this,
on
but I don't
YouTube.
remember what he said.
You're in,
Why
you're
is it not
stopping,
a
you're viewing
disciplinary?
right
Why is that taboo?
They have all kinds of questions.
I don't remember. He said there was some reason it can't be a
Here they are.
disciplinary thing, didn't he?
What's the question? We lost sound.
Okay.
Sounds bad.
Oh, all right.
Please advance the document. I took the document down. So these are
Okay.
comments right here.
So all of this is.
There is, everyone's busy there, he didn't want to get caught up, sound well.
There will be
So,
cases
yeah.
where a remote setting is appropriate, but that's, you have to have discretion in the administration. That can't be mandated.
So out of
So-
two things here.
Go ahead.
Yeah, do we know how many students have been reassigned because of this issue?
About that.
Can we get that number?
Sorry. I'm so sorry.
I personally had one 8 days, but he was back probably about a week and a half later.
So let's take a scenario where a student refuses to wear a mask. For whatever reason, it has been determined that a virtual setting is not a good place. It could be various reasons why that virtual setting is not a good place. What is the remedy for a teacher and the students who have to be in a confined room with that child then?
I think if a child continues to refuse, whether that's the mask and the virtual setting is. I've not heard an area.
Okay.
Come back and say, that, well, this kid doesn't learn well online or that. No.
Well, I'm not even talking about kid doesn't learn well online. I'm talking like, let's say there are problems in the home, like more extreme situation. I know we shouldn't be talking about particulars, especially since it's 6:03. But is there a remedy for a teacher or the students? Let's not even talk about students, for teachers, if that is the case, is there just hypothetical?
Okay. Right, I mean, that's the reason we did the buffer, because Stay in your 8-foot buffer.
Stay away from the kid.
So my concern isn't actually, we went to the farthest worst extreme. My concern is the immediate. I actually don't mind how you've written this part,
Yeah, I don't mind.
but if I need to call, Ms. Vasquez for some reason, there's a delay there. In the meantime, that student is sitting in my room with no mask on, acting like a fool because that's what they do when they're teenagers. So I don't honestly see having him sit in the hallway as disciplinary. I mean, we do that sometimes when a kid needs to step out because he's having a bad day or whatever. It's a very common thing at the high school level is to have him take a breather out there. That's what I'm saying. We need some kind of intermediate. And well, that's what, because when we brought it up before, you said no, that was disciplinary.
Put in writing that if a kid's mask falls over their nose, you can put it on the hall. I wouldn't put that in writing. But as a classroom teacher, you own the classroom. And Nick's acting up a little bit, Nick, go outside, take a breather, right?
Right.
We can do that. Well, if Nick's method of acting out is pop his mask out below his nose and Nick, take a breather. It's the same thing, man.
Yeah.
But I would be very reluctant to put in here that whenever a kid's mask drops below his nose, the teacher can put him on the hall, because we want teachers to put, and not a lot, right?
Right.
So we will have 1 or 2. We'll put 15 kids on the hall, so we gotta address the problem.
I agree,
Right?
I agree.
So I think.
But the reason, I know you're saying you're not comfortable with putting it in that the child should be removed, and this is after he's been asked.
Right.
And
Right.
believe me, the teacher's not gonna ask just once and then kick him out.
Yeah.
She's gonna ask a few times, or he's gonna ask.
There will be some.
Right, okay, but we're talking about in general, because there's always exceptions to every rule. They should, if you don't want them to just be sent out to have a break, that's why we had written sent to the administration office, because that would be somewhere where he can sit, have his break, but he is supervised, and which would be acceptable in a contract. Because there are principals, like the one I have had for a million years, and the one before him, and the one before him, who do believe what you just said, that teachers own their classrooms.
Mm-hmm.
And there are many who do not believe that. And those principals will say, you can't put the kid outside, he has to stay in your room. And then there's a danger factor for not only the instructor, which is who we are talking about, but also for the other kids. The other kids, there are kids who have returned to school, saw how many kids don't wear their masks, and begged to go back to virtual and are now back on virtual.
Mm-hmm.
Because the kids themselves want to see this policy followed
I had one too.
and taken seriously. That's all I'm saying. We don't have to say, put them outside, just say, send to the administrator,
Yeah.
even if it's just for a cool down period.
I really think this disagrees with having to put in. A teacher can send a kid to the administrator for any reason they want.
Okay, I don't have everybody here, but how many people ran into certain issues with the MOU because it was not specific enough? Have you had any issues? Because I certainly know many people who are not in the room did and said, why doesn't it say it in the MOU? My principal won't let me do so-and-so, even though we had discussed.
Because we can't put every single circumstance that happens in the school into the MOU.
But this is a policy of the school. This is a policy of the district.
We probably should table this in the morning.
But it says the student administrator will be contacted.
Yeah.
So that the teachers just pick up what else called contact administrator for them to come and do whatever they have to do. It says that. It doesn't say kick them out, but it says contact the school administrator. And the school administrator is to follow up with the parents. It continues and it's an ongoing thing, then you go over to the next step. It's kind of tough. It doesn't say kick them out, but it says you can contact the school administrator.
Yeah, yes, so that's why I was saying at that point, you take the kid.
I just wanted to say referred to the administrator.
No, the rest of it I like. I just want to wait for the child to be away from the other kids.
Right.
Until.
Separated somehow.
Yeah, separated in some way.
That's all.
It does one of two things. It freaks the other kids out because the kid's not wearing the mask, or it makes Johnny's friend Timmy and Johnny go, oh, I don't have to wear my mask either. It does one of those two things, and both are very negative for everyone involved.
So would you consider, instead of consider, I know, right, that was so grateful. To resolve the issue, including placement into one of the other learning options? Because then it looks like you're gonna really take an action. Consider to me just sounds a
still
little.
wiggle.
To resolve the issue, including, which may include.
Yes, which may
Yeah.
include.
Resolve the issue, which may include.
Yeah,
That does sound more forceful.
I agree.
I like it.
It's just that you have to know there are some schools out there that really are not enforcing this.
Which
I
we have
know,
that
I know.
pretext.
We're on the same page.
So we're trying to
We
help
want
them.
you to have your faculty rep talk directly to their superintendent when they solve the problem, because we think there probably are 5 or 10 schools out there.
Yeah.
And the last thing we should do is write this MOU for 5 or 10 schools, right?
Yeah.
So
And this gives us some mechanisms to identify the schools and go and fix
So the first step is the principal, and then if you see no results,
Well, there's,
then
it.
you,
You go there, you go to the
Yeah.
faculty rep, because we always hear teachers are afraid to go to principals. But faculty rep's not, so we go to the faculty rep, and then notify area superintendent.
That's a good suggestion, Joanne.
thank you.
So, Em,
That works.
All right,
um,
and then keeping the last sentence that you guys added about the rep.
I like
Yes.
that.
Yeah, yeah, like,
that's-
that's fine.
All right,
yeah.
moving on, two had no changes.
Right, they accepted. How come we didn't put in what the equivalent was when, after they told us what the equivalent was? We spent so long listening to her.
dual nines,
Yeah,
Confused, we don't remember
Then
what
they're
it
gonna
was.
be asking.
we heard the presentation.
Technical jargon at us, and I got it. What
That
was,
has a nice little paragraph, and I thought, oh God, are they gonna add that into the MOU?
no, I mean, well, right, because when I wrote to them, we're at the school board meeting, I was sitting in there, Ginger was in one of the other rooms, and both of us went, oh no, we're gonna hear all about dual lines again. But, yeah, why wouldn't it just say
They
because,
did Clint to give us a simple sentence that's understandable.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, just to say the dual lines, because that is the equivalent, and that is what they're using.
okay, so two,
It's fine.
we're in agreement. Three, the gist of what we, did not accept
Three's a
in
mess.
three about creating the master schedule is that the parties come to consensus. We say they're gonna be innovative, they're gonna collaborate. We incorporated the language we talked about when we met last time, but we just, disagree on that consensus. And then in terms of making a concerted effort with the category 1 and 2 employees, Paula's team has been doing that for the last 2 weeks almost now. And I think you gave all the numbers of how many cat 1s and 2s are remain virtual.
They're very different. Look closely.
We think that's going well.
I have a question. Now that the, well, I have to take my second one, but you open it up to 65 plus for substitutes as well. And one of the discussions we had previously was that it's easier to hire a teacher than get substitutes. Well, once the 65 plus substitutes have had their second vaccines, you're going to have less of a problem with substitutes, correct?
That's what I'm hoping.
That's what I'm hoping.
Either that or they found a good way to get a vaccine and they said,
And we needed to take that, you know, I would like to say.
I think-
hey, go
I
get
think a
the
lot of them
vaccine,
will.
and you-
It'll help.
I mean, there, you know, you can't-
No, no,
Number
I
of
understand that, but potentially
Absolutely.
the
That-
pool,
Just slightly
pool is
renumbered.
going to increase.
That's.
Yeah.
That's
So
what
in a
we're
way.
doing.
Collaborate in the development
Four's fine.
of
right now,
schedules
we're still having what?
to review
But I'm gonna go on.
opportunities for virtual positions
So 1 out of every 4 positions is not being filled.
in determining.
In the first semester, have we, had to remove any teacher from virtual because they weren't semester?
Because they go back out because they weren't able to do that. I think it was just like, right off the bat, it was like 1 or 2 or 3. You know, but if that has been, now it seems like years ago, but, you know, probably 4 or 5 months ago.
Had principals who have cutting the mustard, but they left.
Yep.
But, right, because right, in the original language, but that's why I don't see why we, at this point, if they've been teaching virtually for the entire first semester, why would they need to be?
Because we've had principals who chose not to use that clause, we want to leave that in there as a tool when it becomes important. There's some kids who have been getting very, very substandard instruction for the first 7 months of the school year, and we feel like at some point, we want to have the ability to act on that. And it's not a lot, it's very simple.
So can you guys, just quickly look over 3 again and see, because they didn't accept any of our changes, so look and see what.
Yeah,
they
guys,
have
everyone should be
in the red box.
comparing the two. This one is very sloppy because of the many changes we made.
Yeah. 4 and 5. So 8-foot plexiglass, police officer shields, large classrooms. Is there a reason you didn't use well, it says surgical masks here. You took that bullet point off. I know you crossed out K95.
Wait,
I'm
we're
guessing-
still doing
Oh,
it.
We're still doing
Hold on, hold on, hold on.
I'm sorry.
We're on the new 3, the new 3, not the old 3.
Yeah, you just gave me sugar and caffeine, it's your fault.
We're on the new one. The new-
Yeah.
He's that kid that you had in class that was like,
What happens
I
when you
finished
invite a
the next
middle school teacher?
15 assignments, what do I do now?
So I guess,
I have 2 questions on it.
Go ahead.
One, collaborate without some level of consensus to me is a meaningless term. It could be, we put out a survey, we got their input, but we used none of it, but they had a chance. So that collaboration effectively is a moot point. And that does happen.
it was, yeah.
Yeah.
The other question that I have is why this would not be subject to the grievance procedure?
Yeah, I have that
It seems
question
to be
too.
opening it up to very arbitrary.
The only thing not subject to grievance procedures is the removal of a teacher who's not performing well in a personal setting.
Right, and why would that not be subject?
Because that's what you agreed to the first time. We almost didn't agree to this at all. Right? And so we were gonna say that the only way someone can have a virtual job is if they somehow demonstrated or the principal agreed that they were a good teacher of virtual. And then we acquiesced. Nancy made the argument that if they take the training, then we have to give them the opportunity to show that they learned what they had to learn to do the virtual training. So we were insistent we would agree to that and allow anybody to teach virtually if they took the training, but in return, we needed to be able to remove them if they were completely ineffective. And that we didn't want it subject to grievance because they would have to go through all the steps of grievance and that person would remain teaching virtually too long to the detriment of the students. That was just rationale between, that's how we arrived at the language the first time around.
Right, but we also had something in here that they would be given. Now, I'm hoping that these teachers that you're saying, it's a small group of teachers who were allowed to stay on, but really haven't been very proficient.
It's still in there. They've
Still
given
there, they've been given an opportunity to
They've had a
improve.
whole semester.
So they did, but they were spoken to, and, okay, because that was what was in there, is that they would be
Yeah.
given another shot to take more
Yeah.
training.
Still there.
It doesn't change the fact that the bulk of us are teaching simultaneously, so the bulk of us are virtual teachers and face-to-face teachers. So the bulk of us have had to be proficient in both forms.
Right, and there are plenty of simultaneous teachers who would love for you to yank them on virtual.
Mhm.
And tell them they still
Yeah.
have it.
It's not well, no question, we did that last week. We had 5 teachers that were released from all virtual. We put them in schools that had a high number of simultaneous kids.
Oh, so they took the
Yeah.
virtual?
You could recognize them all Wednesday morning by the smile on their face.
Yeah.
There was only 5 of them.
It makes a difference.
It does, it really does, of course.
Now,
So where are you guys this week?
Nick, are you now on 5?
I'm down here on 5. Yeah.
He's on 8.
Are we agreeable then?
Nick, you're totally fine with the fact that there's no consensus needed, just collaborative conversation.
I'm thinking this is too big churches for me, and I'm letting the adults in the room handle it.
But I want you to remember what your collaborative conversations were like at your school about simultaneous teaching.
They weren't.
They were.
They were not.
They were just like, here's your stuff. Do you have any questions? Oh, well.
I can accommodate you, this is what you're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I mean, I know master schedules are done, there's no great changes happen second semester, some changes occur, but I would see if we were in July.
Yeah.
And we were doing this for, prior to school starting, before that. I feel like at this point, the horse is out of the barn.
Conveniently.
Remember that great
Conveniently.
training that we took together for collaborative bargaining? It was for collaborative bargaining, but it was, you were there and.
I remember Mark.
Yes. It was really, really good. Can we do that with all the principals?
Great idea.
I really just think they don't understand what collaborative means. I really honestly think they struggle with it. Not all of them. Some of them are amazing at it.
We have talked about this. In order to collaborate, it takes both parties all the time doing it, showing respect, and that doesn't always happen. And so it becomes very, we have a lot of principals that get very, very turned off by a lot of things that occur. And so we talk to our principals about how to work with teachers, but it's.
Rita wanted to say something.
Yeah.
For me, the piece that's significant here is that it's connected to the development of the master's schedule to make it education for students. And this is not unlike where, as we're trying to teach assignments, right? Teachers collaborate, have input, but ultimately it is the principal who has to decide how many sections of English matters go here, how many there, et cetera. So that's the collaboration. It's a conversation, put it, it's listening to what the teacher's wishes and desires are, but
No,
ultimately, it's the principal that decides. Like, who's deciding.
I'm far more.
So that's the problem with the word consensus. I get it, because the
Yeah.
principal does have to have the ultimate decision.
There is that, but correct me if I'm wrong, the contract itself has a section in about innovative programs, which are much more collaborative and much less supposed to be top-down just decisions. So it's slightly different than reassignment. If a school wants to institute an innovative program, it must be worked through with the staff, collaborative.
Right.
This, my PCS online is an innovative program.
Yes, that's true.
That's very
I'm gonna
true.
argue that, you gotta go back to the genesis of that part of the contract, that goes back to the early 90s. When school improvement plans first, and staff committees first came out, and there was all this extensive training about doing the school improvement plan. And, at that time, we put in the part of the contract, but if you had an innovative program, it was really about if you had an innovative program that somehow violates part of the contract, but the faculty wants to do it, you come to consensus, and we've defined consensus for the longest time as being 75% of the faculty.
Right.
So that's where all that came from, right? And this is different than that. This wasn't any innovative program we came up with because we were trying to do better things for kids. This was an innovative program. We had to open up school in a few weeks, and we knew lots of kids and teachers were university.
I would disagree with that answer, though. I think my PCS online stuff, simultaneous teaching is a violation of the contract. So
Yeah.
it is by definition an innovative program that's outside the norm.
Right.
So
The virtual
I think that's why
option.
that's.
The virtual option was the emergency move because of the pandemic. The simultaneous teaching is an innovative, that falls under that.
You know, we just disagree about that. We just disagree about the amount of simultaneous. Clearly, the first MOU contemplated simultaneous teaching. Clearly,
For somebody like Colleen, that's what we talked about, and
Let's
somebody
table
who,
paragraph 3, because I don't think we're going to come to an agreement.
I think we're close.
I agree consensus can't be in there, but is there any other way that we can say something that makes it like stronger than collaborate? Collaborate has not worked. It just hasn't worked. You just like the word consider.
You
You
like
wanna
that
put it
word,
everywhere. Anybody?
So for me, like just in my situation, I don't see, so if my, as much, I love my AP, named Mr. Blanco. I don't know if y'all know him, great guy. He does the master schedule, bless him. And if he comes to me and goes, look, this is what you got, like I can have a conversation with him because I have, but ultimately he has this many kids and I am the only US history teacher. There's no collaboration on that. I'm far more worried about, having 29 students as opposed to 26. Not so much, I'm talking simultaneous, everyone's simultaneous. I'm more worried about that. Like, for me, like, there's a raw numbers game here that most of the time you can't get around. As a teacher, it's really nice to be informed about these things before they happen, so that I can prep or at very least get myself mentally ready for having 4 more students in my school, or I can make sure
Given some
that,
other options, maybe.
or like maybe try to problem solve with this, that, or the other. Like the idea of informing before it happens is that the idea of consideration in the very raw form. If my position is being considered before it happens in 12 hours or 24 hours. For me, that would be a blessing that I would know beforehand.
Maybe
But
we are gonna get the word considerate in there.
I don't know. I'm waxing poetically here. It's always nice as a teacher to be informed, because in a timely manner, so that at that point I can try to problem solve my own issue with my AP because I have that relationship.
Okay.
I'm doing Google searches of synonyms.
Me
What
too.
are collaborate, work together, work in partnership.
Work with,
Cooperate.
I like working in partnership.
Will
Work
collaborate
jointly.
and work in partnership with,
work with.
A little clumsy, but
together with.
Once you guys pick the word that-
We also have be in harmony and.
all right.
And as
Let's-
long as we understand that ultimately, there can't be veto power.
Yeah.
As long as we understand that, then use any synonym, yes.
They just,
Communication and consideration.
yeah, just having that little communication, just a
Timely communication
conversation.
and consideration.
If they're not getting anything at all, how is that helping morale?
Right, I mean.
3 C's, communication, collaboration,
Collaborate and
consideration.
work together, what do you want to?
If you off.
Work
because when
with?
you- Sometimes you
work?
can offer them a whole other option. If this is not something they can do, they will, like, you have a different certificate, do you want to teach this year so you don't have to do this? These are the kinds of conversations, is if this is
Yeah.
really making, like, if someone said that to me in English and said, you got to do simultaneous, and I was like, oh man, I just really suck at technology, that's going to kill me. And he said, well, you got an English degree, you want to teach Avid this year? Because we need an Avid teacher. So will you do that? Yes, I will do that. I mean, so this is that's the kind of working jointly I wanted to see. Sometimes there are no other options.
Timely collaboration?
No, you want to work together.
Work with, or,
Work in partnership and work together, come up with
That's the problem.
Yeah, I mean, work jointly, give options.
Yeah, well,
You know.
we'll think
Collaborate
of a
and
word.
problem solve?
All right, just.
principals and supervisors
Yeah,
will
I
work
think
Figure that out.
together.
We'll
We'll work
think of a
with, we'll work
word
with.
there. But we get the idea of not
Okay,
having.
Is that
people
the only word we're hung up on right now?
yes,
Yeah,
And
kind
then
of.
we'll take 3 if we get.
Yes.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Otherwise, 3 would be fine, is fine.
Can we move down to?
So now we're to the 4.
They're saying something else, what you're saying.
I was just checking the sound.
Oh,
Good.
so I was just curious why you didn't want the vaccines available to eligible employees may be received during the school day without using time or loss of pay. You didn't accept that, but that is what you're doing.
Because,
That's what we're doing right now.
because it could be that when we finally get teachers eligible.
When everyone's doing it.
We may wind up opening our own clinic and getting vaccines from the Department of Health. We can't send everybody during the day. At that point, we do the whole staff.
Yeah.
And maybe that we do
I was right.
afternoon, evening hours, Saturday hours, stuff like that. We're not sure. We just can't commit to it because maybe something on the.
Right.
And I think that's something we can talk about once we're given direction, it's just the unknown, we don't, and it's very difficult to put something in there when we haven't been told what the requirement, our rules are, right?
or when it's even gonna happen.
But we all want teachers to
Okay.
get vaccinated as soon as
All right, that's what I just wanted to ask. I figured that was
We
it.
did it this time because we knew we couldn't, and we were given, here's the times, here's the slots, you guys schedule them, and we can have them here, okay?
Okay.
possible. All right,
Yes,
yeah.
4 is,
So what have you told the principals? That if we have appointments, that we go and they cover?
Work with them.
Yeah, everybody wants vaccinations.
yeah.
All right, so now we're back to for category 1 and 2 employees.
Yeah, I was just curious to why the masks, going back to my other
Right.
Because the KN was a no-go because of the medical advisory board, right?
Medical advisory board told us that they were not
Yeah.
recommended because of availability, because of the difficulty getting the kids.
Yeah.
And because they also told us that they're harder to follow.
Yeah. But what about just the
They said
mask?
that about, excuse me, they said that about the N95s. They did not say that about the KN. They're two completely different masks.
I want to ask, is
They
that,
did.
No, they told, no.
They said it about both the
Yeah.
KN95s as
But they
well.
told us,
The KN95 don't have to be fitted.
They're not fitted.
I have a question. Is yours a KN95?
Yes.
Did the district get that for you?
No.
You bought that?
So it's not fitted
But
by a
it's not
professional.
no, it's not me.
But that's what we actually want, is that,
That's-
right, what you have on is what we would love to have.
I do know there's a load of them in the warehouse, not as many as the cloth ones. I do know that
We
they,
don't have the capacity, and we don't know our ability for us to purchase them. And the medical advisory committee said that the blue surgical mask is what they recommended, so that's what we're doing.
But we do know that, right, I don't know why Central Mass didn't get in our red line copy, so we will add that.
Yeah.
Age barrier, it didn't get in there.
You could probably
Yeah,
put,
that's my bad.
Sorry.
you could probably put it on the same bullet with face shields with glasses
No,
and,
but it's separate.
and- okay, all right,
But I did hear,
or back end.
I did hear, somebody speaking on, I think it was Good Morning America this morning, saying that there actually is, this is kind of funny, off topic, that there is an abundance now of the N95 and KN95 masks, that they are no longer in short supply. That was like a government official that said that.
Yeah.
So
There'll be-
talk to us about this, Stephen.
Eating
What's
and
the
ca-
problem with
Yeah,
it?
eating and possibly.
In the cat one, in the cat
yeah,
one,
what's the table with, yeah, we wanted no student eating in the classroom.
especially the cat ones.
Last
Yeah.
bullet point
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
It was,
You didn't accept it.
We didn't accept it.
Is there a reason why you didn't accept it?
Yeah, because some of our cafeterias are extremely tiny, and the way the school has worked around it is to have the kids eat in the classroom. And we felt like, what we had to do here was, this is where it's like, get behind your 8-foot barrier and stay there. When they're eating,
With little
that's
kids.
easy to control.
So one of the things we have in here is only for the cat ones and cat two
Right, that's,
employees.
we were
Only for
thinking
them.
for them,
yeah,
the cat ones.
can't we
me
just
too.
say you can't have that happening in a cat 1 or cat 2 room?
Who cleans the classroom then? Is it, because as a cat one, if I'm in a classroom, I don't touch anybody else's things.
Mhm.
I have my own pens, I have my own pencils, I carry my wipes. And being in a classroom, if that cat one or cat two teacher, after the students eat, are they having to clean up and wipe the desk and put it all in the trash and pick up? Because we all know kids clean up after themselves,
So
right?
Because we can essentially prioritize cat ones and cat twos and have other people in the cafeteria. Because we don't have a lot of cat ones in the classrooms, do we? You said it was like less than a third?
We're not talking about all
We don't have very many cat ones and cat twos in a classroom, right?
So we have, correct, I mean, again, we have,
I don't do anything, because part of it, they said that people can, we have the people who put in the application to teach version, that's one group of county, or if you take cat one teachers across the board,
Yeah,
a far bigger.
better in the classroom. Is
A
it?
third of our teachers.
Right, but they,
Some people decided they didn't want to change grade levels or whatnot to be virtual, so they.
So they took they
right, but when they went in, they thought they were going to be protected by mask at all times, and it has changed over the weeks, it has gotten worse. And now it's the whole class in there, all of the meeting, all their masks off, breakfast and lunch. That's the problem, is it's getting worse. And now they're really speaking up saying, this is not acceptable. I didn't ask for this. I
really do, yeah, I mean, we have plenty of teachers who are in Cat 1 and Cat 2 who are
Right.
who are uncomfortable with it. But those people I could see saying,
So
stay behind your buffer, but the Cat 1s and 2s,
Okay, so I don't think any one of us can sit here and answer that right now, because I certainly don't have that information. So let's mark that down, that there's a concern about eating in the classroom for category 1 and 2, and we'll figure that out for people who will know that. And if that's a possibility.
I have another concern on this one, it's about our flexa cages for level 1 teachers.
Yeah.
We didn't define what a flexa cage will look like, nor how it's going to work.
Okay.
Since I have now gotten mine, and the way it was installed was that the students could stand and breathe over it, I would hate to think we have to clarify how tall these have to be or how they have to be put in to protect. Except for there seems to be some confusion on how they're supposed to work. When I went in and I found mine sitting on the floor with 1.5 feet above my desk, I questioned how this flexible cage is going to help protect me as a level 1 teacher, because it's not. It makes a vortex of germs. When I was told they can't be put on top of the desk because it's a liability.
do you have any pictures? Did she send you pictures?
I have pictures. Yeah,
From,
for me.
did you, got it?
I don't know.
I'm trying, Nick.
I'm told they can't be the trim because it's winter. They can't be attached to the desk.
Are they, how tall are they total?
That's all,
So
yes.
we have them at our school, we do have them on the desk. So I don't know who told them that.
And it's not built for it to go on the desk now because it went around the desk.
Yes, to.
Oh,
So
we
you
have, we
couldn't
must have,
possibly put it up because it must have been built.
okay.
So it's not actually, it's not actually.
Okay, we must have something different. We have like a trifold piece that's tall. Okay. Gotcha. Gotcha.
And then it comes up to about like here.
Well, her knees are protected.
My knees are protected.
Right.
And I heard
Okay, so
adults,
what
so
she
they're
just,
tall.
okay, so what she just showed us was, and again, guys, you know what, everybody has different size desks, some people have desks that are smaller, some have a larger desk. What she showed me was a 30 by 60 table, which is about like this. It fits on. The desk, which I'm assuming was yours, it doesn't fit on. What they've done is they put it in front, trying to keep it there, which obviously is not tall enough. So what we need to do is find out the 30 by 60 table. And if furniture was removed from classrooms because we had to have more space, I would think that there might be a 30 by 60 table at the school.
To switch
That
it
could
out.
be brought in, and then we could do this.
Then
Then
yours
we'll
could be
lose your
lifted.
desk, And I'm sorry, but this will take precedence and it could go on there.
Okay,
So let's try to work that problem out, and she's gonna send me the pictures, and we'll try.
But
to
then,
work
what
it out.
about, that leaves the whole bottom area.
I'll help you.
You know, this is, listen, this, sorry. This is an option, this is a situation, we don't have like built-in, like, there's nothing that I could order that's a depth that's all encompassing of what we have, this is an option. We have also the other shields that were there that you could ask for and make a 3,
That's what we
if
have.
that works for you, I mean, I think you can ask for that. And just try to work every, this is why it's so difficult to write, because your situation is different than Tony's is different and everybody. So let's try to work those problems out. So if you hear of anybody that has those concerns, have them talk to the principal. We will have them, we'll let Clint and them know that they could be getting some questions and concerns.
that was the
And
issue, is there's no directions with these. They came in
listen,
and
exactly.
said,
I
what do
know,
we do with them?
and they're all trying. Everybody's trying so hard. So please know, and we just have to take the situation. We have to look at the situation and try to find a solution for it. So that's what we can do. We'll continue to follow up. So she's gonna.
Are we on
I
6
thi- I
now?
think I've done, yeah, Georgia, I think I've got it. I think I did it.
Yes.
Okay. So we will add, we
Six.
will look at that, okay?
I said both, you wanted both, right? Both the one that is set on the table and the one that was around the desk.
They're actually, those two rooms abut each other, and yet you have two totally different setups, so.
That's what happens, right? So I am looking at the clock, I think we want to keep moving along.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
6.
so we are on 6.
Yep. I'm so, didn't we just read that in the other one?
It's similar.
So I'm gonna get collaborate to hang up there.
It's similar to 3.
Yeah, this is where this is where we discovered that CAP Collaborate doesn't work, because it didn't work twice, in the beginning of the year and the beginning of
Yeah.
second.
And I just got a list, I knew after our conversation a couple minutes ago that we might be looking for another word for that.
I'm just saying that,
We can just figure out the wording and then,
And then can we
Yeah.
add to the end, where it says, with their staff to develop class schedules and are encouraged to be innovative to reduce the number of simultaneous teaching?
yes,
Yeah,
That's good.
just right. I know that we had the effort to made to reduce the number by pooling student, we gave options, just say attempt to reduce the number.
Seven, we accepted your.
Yes.
So we're okay with 6, except for, we
I'm
add that
just
addition,
adding.
and then we're just gonna look for a new word for collaborate.
Correct.
Give it a check.
Correct.
And then 7, we went,
accept it.
they went from a week to 3 days, and I think we said we'd be good with that, yes?
Yeah.
Yes, we accept it.
8. Why? Yes.
So we had conversation with this the other night about that, PCTA team. We added the intermittent or illness that requires treatment, and Lori made the point of, not that I'm gonna argue your point, Lori, I'm just gonna refresh the memory. We're talking, this MOU is about COVID, not about illnesses outside that, but an illness that would come up like that, like Juliana's, for example, would give her the ability to apply for intermittent FMLA or anything like that in order to meet those needs. I think that was the reasoning why that wasn't accepted. Is that correct, Lori?
that's correct.
Right.
And so we had talked about that, and just, pardon me, I just can't remember, did we say we would accept that?
With the idea that if somebody qualifies for category 1,
Category 1, yeah.
that they can reapply like y'all agreed to in the first MOU?
And that's in your document.
Yeah.
And that-
That's what I'm pretty sure we talked about.
That is in the document, so I just want to be clear, is that a yes or?
I think it's yes.
I'm sorry, where are we at?
We're on number, the new number 8, the old number 6.
And this is where we had about intermittent health
Yeah.
conditions.
Any employee who is asymptomatic, blah, blah, blah.
But anybody that has like a cancer situation, they can apply for any of those types of leaves, because they didn't limit it. In the first MOU, you had to do it by a certain date. This MOU is not limited.
All right. 9?
Sorry.
We were good with 8. So we're on 9.
8 checked off. 9. There's no,
We didn't do
is there
anything.
any, there's no.
There's no changes to 9 except the number.
it wasn't. She was saying what Lori explained why they left.
10.
We didn't want it.
Oh, yeah.
So 10,
Yeah.
And now, actually,
10 is new, and that was to address the issues with plans. So we quantified a stipend for anyone who is teaching simultaneous for second semester, $250.
The new number 10.
That doesn't even give them an hour a week. That doesn't equivalent. If you got 18 weeks, even if you gave them 1 hour at 18 weeks, that would be $360. So what's your count? I mean, I'm just
500.
noting that literally it's like $13 a week. So
500. Way to go.
Five.
Nice try.
That was quick.
500.
Yeah. You got that?
Can we talk?
Yeah,
Yeah.
this needs to be talked through. We did not discuss this Monday night
Right.
because we ran out of time.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's,
easy peasy.
There are some same things in 6.
On what?
On what?
Number 6.
Wait, 6?
6, we're
Yeah.
at 10.
I talked to Nancy about it.
well, yeah, because they're considering it one class, a simultaneous class is one class, and really it isn't. But because, I mean, it's not even listed that way in the computer, in Focus or Canvas. Because, and obviously if you're offering a stipend, which, don't get me wrong, we're appreciative, because we didn't even ask for that. But you are acknowledging that what they are doing
Yeah,
is
sure.
above and beyond their normal duties.
Right.
Because you don't pay a stipend for a normal duty.
It wasn't our rationale.
Oh.
What is your
You asked, if you could somehow redeem the amount of time you go to meetings, and we felt the need that some of the meetings were important, so we're just compensating you to go to do additional planning, so that we know there's a little bit of additional planning, we're compensating you for additional.
For the additional planning, because they won't be able to miss meetings.
I see, gotcha.
that we heard you loud and clear about
Yeah,
that. And we
yeah.
felt
Right, because we asked, well, what was they
Okay,
getting?
so we can caucus and counter.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 11?
We're gonna take 500 off the table and you guys.
Okay.
Now we're at page 7?
11 was good.
Oh, it's expected.
Oh, we're jumping through 12, 11. Wait, 13.
Sorry.
Well, there was no changes to 11.
No, 11,
No changes to 12.
but there is 13.
no, we're on page 6.
Sorry, that's
Right,
good
so
part.
We're on number 11, yeah?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah,
There were no changes, number 11.
there's
Nothing
no,
changed.
or
There
12,
was nothing on 12.
13.
We're on 13.
We're on 13.
And so they took out, we had audio, they took out, they didn't accept audio.
How come? I was
Why
just
not
we were
audio?
curious.
When we agreed to put that in the first place, and I think there was further discussion over it, it was just focus on the camera.
Yeah.
So we do not want to expand that, we'll keep it in that the cameras were the issue.
But no recordings are supposed to be used.
Right, so we don't need to put the MOU, because we're not supposed to use it. Well, you know,
But if
like
it,
we've done.
Then why have it at all?
so why not just put it there?
I don't know what you said, recording on it, yes, they can be used. What we were focused on was the camera, and that's what we talked
No,
about.
I remember, I was
That's
there.
when
I'm
we
talking about in general, recordings of a teacher are not used as, when the teacher had no idea she was being, he or she was being recorded. They don't use those, they can't use those in
I
disciplinary.
disagree. You can use them unless there's an expectation of privacy. And in a classroom, there is no expectation of
So
privacy.
you're saying that people can be recording us at all times and it's none of our business?
No, we tell our students not to record, but that's a separate.
But then if
issue.
they do, you use it against the teacher, so
It can be used, yes, that's correct.
you do see the problem with that.
So,
I mean, I
makes no
I see the
sense.
problem glaringly. That, I mean, if I was a student and someone said, you don't record, but then I see my friend recorded, it was used against the teacher was punished, I'm recording.
You're asking what the law says, and the law says in audio, you can't, you have to have consent unless there's an expectation of privacy. And there is no expectation of privacy in the classroom, so it can be used.
I could have sworn in our contract it said something different.
We do have something about no discipline in our contract, but
Because this.
I feel bad about saying this, but Lori's correct. That is the law. That is the law.
No, I understand the law.
All right, we can,
I think the situation was because of all those issues that are happening with some of these parent conferences. There's some
And
issues.
parents, yeah, parents who are jumping in and taking over the entire class.
Yeah.
But these are issues.
so I have this issue with a student with mine, or with a teacher with mine. Can't they just shut the camera off?
If
Can't,
parents,
they're allowed to do that, they just shut the camera off.
you'll still
They have
hear the
that
parent,
leeway.
right?
Huh?
You'll still hear the parent.
Shut the audio off.
Can I just make a suggestion? We're here to talk about COVID and safety.
Yeah.
And we're turning back, so let's keep focused on that and see if we can get through, and then you can caucus.
Okay, fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, it's related because the simultaneous
Yeah.
teaching has happened because
We
of
can,
COVID.
we can caucus.
Yeah, all of this came up, the reason none of this was there before is because simultaneous wasn't a thing. It's a thing now, and it's causing additional problems.
Yes, definitely.
That's why these things are arising.
Again, what he said before, we reluctantly agreed to put this paragraph in because the focus was the camera and chilling instructors. We want to broaden that, and we say no. So let's move on and see where we can come to an agreement.
And so they did accept our second sentence about the students and the parents.
Yeah.
And then they didn't accept the last one about classroom sanctity, and I'm gonna, not that I'm gonna argue your case, but I'm gonna say, you're gonna say it's already in the contract.
What?
Yeah, starting the contract, which isn't,
Yeah, it is.
13 weeks. We had decided that.
15.
14,
Well,
Fine.
14's the same.
15.
Fine.
Yep.
accepted.
Guess what, Bill, look where we are. Our favorite.
Here's the word code. Keep the 2-foot teaching wall to 6 foot buffer, make the 8-foot barrier. We space the students as best we can, target is 3 to 6 feet. Define it by measuring from the center of the seat to the center of the seat. If a teacher feels like the target's not being met, they can notify their faculty rep, who will notify the area superintendent and principal, or notify the area superintendent. Upon notification, the area superintendent and principal will remedy the problem through one of these 3 ways. They're either going to come in and rearrange the classroom, remove excess furniture and or structures, however you want to say that, they're going to rearrange the classroom to provide social distancing to meet the target, or they're going to move the class, that period, they can move that class to a larger room, or they move students from that class to another class. This is all connected to the class-site targets. In doing that, we're no longer going to say that there's caps in the face-to-face classes, instead we're going to be class size. Right?
Well, what is that?
Take the students from classrooms that have smaller amounts of square feet and put them in classrooms with bigger amounts of square feet in order to effectively.
There still needs to be some kind of a cap though, because I already have a teacher now with 41 students.
And that's
Teaching simultaneously, that's too much for one class period. I'm sorry, that is.
I'm just saying, if you want, but we can't.
So there still has to be something coming, some kind of
We
cap.
can't say that in smaller classrooms, we gotta be able to remove kids, but then in larger classrooms, we can't touch kids. Otherwise, it's still it's a zero-sum game, right?
Let's look at it, the first paragraph, and this looks a little messy since the redlining, but first we talk about face-to-face. When the classroom is face-to-face, we're going to comply with class size law. The next paragraph deals with simultaneous teaching. I'm sorry, the next paragraph deals with virtual. And when it's virtual, through my PCS online, as opposed to Pinellas virtual, these are the caps. And generally, those are the caps. So there are caps, 28, 32, 35.
Correct, but does that
After
count?
the purely virtual,
Sorry.
we move on to simultaneous teaching.
Where's
And
that?
we are going to make every effort to keep with those caps for simultaneous, same as the virtual. But there may be cases where, because of trying to move people around, we have to classroom where there might be, let's say, 10 students in the classroom, another class has to move some of their kids, now those caps are exceeded. We're gonna try not for that not to happen, but if we're moving kids around, they gotta go somewhere.
And remember, this is in reaction to your request that you didn't like our first proposal. Our first proposal was to have caps face to face, right? But you thought it was more important to talk about the social distancing part. So we're still.
No, we want both. We like
No, I
both.
mean, both are
We want both.
necessary, because what was happening is when
Never-
you have a cap, and let's say that cap is 30, in some rooms, that the kids were still a good distance apart, it was still okay. In other rooms, they were like a foot apart. It was dangerous. They were closer than they've ever been before. And so we said, you have to have some kind of minimum where you're saying, okay, the cap works in this room, it doesn't work in that room. It doesn't work there because that's dangerous, having them so close. And that's when you say, we need 3 feet. 3 feet. I think 3 feet center to center is ridiculously close. I think most of your parents would be horrified, but that's not my business.
Joanne?
I think that's much too close. But if we don't have some minimum with the caps.
I would argue it's a target, and I kind of agreed with you until I was in a classroom the other day, in science, high school science classroom. They had like 5-foot tables, and they had if they were going to put 2 kids on the table, the center of the seat was about 3 feet from the other center of the seat, with plexiglass in there, and it didn't look or feel dangerous. And the teacher didn't feel, so I get it, but the target's still going to be 6 feet, right? I mean, we want that. We have to be able to.
The optimal target, yes.
Yeah. So we strive for 6, target's 3 to 6. If the teacher feels like we're not making it, then they have a process where they can complain about it, and then we follow the process, and Gary superintendent then fixes it. I'm just telling you,
Yep.
All right,
there's still a numbers game to be played here. In a given school, there's a given number of teachers, a given number of students, and if we're removing 5 students from this classroom, and this classroom is too small, we've got to be able to put those kids somewhere else.
But that only occurs if we get through A, B, and then on to C, correct?
Yeah.
So-
My guess is it's not going to happen.
Go ahead.
So I actually measured these chairs before you came in. Now, some of you may have moved your chairs around because we're like children. We move our chairs around, but I put a yardstick between each chair, not center to center, but from the chair to the chair. So that's how everybody is spaced in here, unless you move your chair. So are we saying that we can't meet these target sizes within the 3 to 6 feet?
I think we will.
Along with the target caps.
So I just have a little bit of heartburn about not having any targets and then like calling kids in. So I'm not enamored with taking away the target. But I think we need targets for class size because it is what it is. But I think we need to have some kind of target for non-core classes.
Yeah.
And then I think we have to have, you do have targets in here for my PCS, but I think there has to be some kind of target for the simultaneous teacher.
Yeah.
Because having 20 kids in front of you and having 20 kids online, and you have 40 kids, I just find that is too much to manage.
We do have targets for simultaneous.
Okay, what?
That's what I'm confused about, because
They're the same as the My PCS?
No, it says every effort will be made to meet the target.
Target.
well,
That's not a target.
But they're crossed out.
For
Wait,
core
so the
classes.
core,
The target, what I don't understand is you have simultaneous core classes, you have class size amendment.
right,
Those students, whether they're online or in person, are all being taught by the same teacher at the same time. To do anything above class size amendment numbers in simultaneous class violates the spirit of the class size amendment.
yes.
Class size amendment applies to all courses and does not apply to virtual. So simultaneous, people are virtual, it doesn't apply.
Then they are a separate class.
It is in
Saying They are
focus.
a separate class.
Yeah, and what's happening in focus is now because you've got them separated, then they can say, well, they're not hitting cap size because this one's 15, this one's 15. But in reality, that's 30 in a room. That makes no sense. And what are class size limitations anyway? We've had overcrowded classrooms for years. I don't understand what.
No, we don't have,
those
there's
are.
no rules for my PCS. So we can make the rules. We don't have any guidelines for my PCS, as we talked about in the very beginning of this. There are rules saying no class size restrictions on Pinellas virtual, not all virtual. My PCS was a brand new created thing. There is no statute covering it. So if you are claiming that it is part of the same class, then it follows the same rule as the face-to-face.
You're right that the statute does not address it at all. It
Right.
just says that virtual does not apply.
Right.
So you could easily make the argument it does, or you could easily make the argument it does not. The statute doesn't contemplate the virtual.
Well, because all of these virtual classes across all districts, not just here, were created for this purpose, for this need. So it's not, it doesn't fall under any previous rooms because it's brand new. So
Why don't you guys just start off?
Right.
You want to call?
I don't even really understand this offer, so. if
Well, it seems like
somebody.
it contradicts itself. That's why, I mean,
Yeah, so in our classes, when we do our counter, we'll do the social distancing and the class targets, that whole section.
It doesn't contradict itself, really. I think that the response that we provided here is really an effort to address the system. So it regulates, it's all about thinking about an immersive classroom based on the system. And we will, in doing that, we will make class size also. Really, that's what this is doing.
Right.
Based on that system. And when we went out together, the 3 foot was not, I mean, that was something that was being done around as acceptable, at the minimum of 3 feet, remember?
no, you guys said that. We said 4 feet.
Right.
It was in the conversation.
I did, you said right there, you said, can we at least get 3 feet?
So this is really about the spacing, and the spacing takes care of the numbers.
That's a good.
Right.
Really what we're concerned about is the simultaneous, honestly, because I have teachers with 25 in front of them and 16 online. And because, oh, well, it's under, the kids in front of them, that's under 30, but that's what I'm concerned about. It's too much.
Now, we're not talking about, obviously, we're not talking about safety anymore, because the kids online don't add to the danger of the
Spacing,
classroom.
right.
It is simply educationally unsound.
You cannot
To
teach
put
that
that
way.
many people.
And
in
you're
a-
worried about how our students are performing. That's the issue.
That's where class size came
Is
from.
that the only difference?
I know,
And I'm just gonna say,
I know. It's
you
just,
you guys kind of watch, like when I'm putting people up and we've got people on, and then I'm trying to cater to all of you and people are talking to me, and I'm trying to manage what's on the line. That's problematic. And so we have to think about our teachers trying to educate our kids, because our
That's
number
what I'm
one
worried about.
priority is educating kids.
Yep.
That's why we're all here. And so safety and COVID is another priority. So that's just where we are, and I think I lost my signal.
yeah, you did.
So after the conference, if you want to just give us
Yeah.
your suggestions and use the documents that we use tonight, and then we can take a look at them. And maybe we're not, I think we made pretty good progress
Yeah.
on most of them. And maybe we
Yeah.
should have started with the big spot,
Yeah.
social distance.
We should have started backwards.
I think that's the problem we didn't overcome last time.
And it looks like the rest of it is all good. Does everyone see that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, we ticked off
So I think we have.
80% of
very
this
few
today.
things. So we'll talk it, we'll make our counter out. Lori, I'll work off your document and try to make these changes in here, and then I'll send it back to you so we can like agree on what we got going on.
The question about 20. You still have it out, I'm sorry.
20.
It was.
And she is defined as a cited leave category.
The one at the
Yes,
end,
yes.
that you didn't accept of our saying those on leave, on the COVID leave are permitted to work in another job.
Hmm.
Yeah, that contradicts the current contract, or directly contradicts the current contract, and this is an MOU that we don't want to.
Right, we don't want to do that, but since COVID leave doesn't exist in the current contract, it doesn't contradict the current
Well, I
contract.
think it does.
COVID leave is completely new and different leave.
It It says you can't have a.
How come you let them work part-time on the other COVID leave?
It says you can't work full-time while you're on leave.
So can they work part-time? Because, I mean, we had that in the first MOU, right? The COVID leave, the one that began in the beginning, they were allowed to work.
Part-time.
Yeah, they were.
Part-time.
Okay. Okay.
The contract is full-time, you can't work full-time while on leave. I didn't want to contradict it, because you don't do that on.
Oh, gotcha.
All right, and so you put part-time in here? and-
I didn't put anything. You're allowed to do it.
I think we should do that.
All right, so those on leave are permitted to work part-time.
Just leave it out, because the contract doesn't prohibit it right now.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
All right.
Okay?
Mhm.
All right, thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, one last, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Now I'm gonna wait, I'm gonna do this every 5 feet, every time.
To get 5 feet closer to the door.
Where it said the district will provide a monthly reminder of the sick leave bank. I wasn't sure why you said no, because we wanted to do it together. I mean, I wanted to do it, and I thought it would be good if you did it as well, because I can't reach everybody. I can only reach my members. I'm gonna send a listserv, reminder for the first Monday of every month that if you're still interested in the sick bank, here's your time. But I can only reach 4,000 some of the people.
4,200.
So I was hoping,
Do that.
what?
Can't the faculty reps do that?
We can't, well, in our schools,
We send it out
Technically,
as
we're
the,
not-
like a risk management email.
I just didn't know why it was a deal.
Yeah, I
Well,
just thought,
can I just be honest with you? I will be honest with you. The workload and
Yeah.
you guys don't understand every email I send out, it is 50 emails back. And so and I think this is something that is out there. We did a blanket email out to everybody. They received that. We had 1,200, 1,500 people submit. I think they know.
I know
about
that
it.
took a
I
lot.
think they know about it. So,
That's fair enough.
you know, if we do this for everything.
That's fair enough.
Maybe they could put a
You
word
just
of
give
no
out-
risk
you just give
management.
out permission to send it out as a reminder.
What?
Oh,
Can we
give
send
the faculty reps permission to send out a reminder, hey, the first of the month is going up.
let them do it.
Not if we have them come back to us.
Oh, you're not gonna have that many again. I mean, like the beginning was, you're
You
not gonna
can,
see
you can
anything
just
like
do it in
that.
our meetings.
Yeah.
Let me look at the thing.
Yeah.
We know what you look like now.
But it has a request, we'll consider it.
Do you want to take a day?
How many people do we wind up getting?
At least 1,200, but I can't, I
Okay,
don't.
no, I'm just
Yeah,
curious, because I
2,000.
was shocked at how low it was in the beginning.
Absolutely.
It blew my mind.
Yeah.
so the bank is looking at it's looking good because the number of people that we got to respond.
It's healthy.
Yes, very much.
Yeah, 'cause it probably was out of compliance before, but we still were implementing it. It was just something that had been in there. So, did you say something, Zoe? I'm sorry.
Did we want to pick a day for next week to try to finalize?
Yes. I'm just going.
I know, mine's upstairs, so I'll be guessing.
Well, isn't the second today people have to come bring their election paperwork?
And Wednesday it is.
Wednesday the 3rd.
I
We
have a
want to
meeting.
see how close we get with your counter offer, and then maybe we can.
So why don't you do your counter,
Yeah,
and once you
well-
send it to us, we can get back to you fairly quickly.
All right.
We'll poll our people and see when we
All right.
can go from there.
All right.
Does
Okay,
that work?
okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
See ya.
Good night.
All right.
Thank
guys.
you. Thank you
very
too.
much. Good night, and congratulations again.
Yeah.
Yeah, congratulations, Dr.
Congratulations.
We put in a lot of measures.
That's what we should have done, a gold thing measure.
I don't want to give her anything up. Yeah, we should talk it through.
Yeah. I forget how I ended this.
I'd rather do it now than arrange a Zoom call. Are you okay with caucusing a bit now?
Sure.
Are you all good with caucusing a bit now, like 10, 15 minutes?
Yeah.
Did I hit it? You hit pause.
I just need a
It's
break.
pause.
Lollipop?
What?
Lollipop?
Sure, a
And
lollipop.
Close it out.
With, that's on fire.
And then that's what you wanna do. Oh,
And they're
it's that
upstairs.
close. It's that
So I'll
close.
be right back.
And then you can just close it.
Julie, are you okay with that?
Thank you. I appreciate it. I think it's right.
We didn't get any more questions after I put up, we can't answer your questions here because we're,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how they think we can answer their questions.
It's all about that.